Hello everyone, how's it going? My name's Liam Bray. It's nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to this semester. I think it's going to be a good one, and so welcome to Sound Design for New Media. Like I said, I'm Liam Bray, and I'm the coordinator for this subject. I'm also going to be giving some of the lectures, and I'll definitely see you in some of the tutorials as well. But yeah, together with the sound design team, we've got a really interesting semester planned. So I look forward to spending some time with you guys, getting to know you, and learning more about your interests as we begin to tackle what it means to design sounds. So I thought I'd start off by just introducing myself. I'm an interaction designer and a design researcher here at the University of Sydney, and I've been practicing interaction design for about the past 10 years, and I run an interaction design agency here in Sydney called the Special Design Research Studio. I've worked on lots of different kinds of things. I've worked on a lot of immersive and installation works, things that like you'd see at Vivid, as well as large-scale media facades and installations at places like Mass. But I've also done a lot of digital design work where I look at very granular interactions between people and technologies and try and help business owners and customers figure out how to actually maximize the usability of their products. And so as an academic, I bring a lot of professional expertise to the way I approach research. And in my research, I primarily focus on the intersection of artificial intelligence in design, where I'm focused on understanding new behaviors that are produced by people interacting with digital systems and technologies. So if I'm an interaction designer and a design researcher, why am I teaching a subject on sound design? In addition to those two things, I also enjoy making music. I love synthesizers and modular synthesis. I'm big into that, and I've been making music for a very long time. But in a former life, before I started my career as an interaction designer and a design researcher, I actually worked as an audio engineer, and I did my undergraduate degree at JMC Academy. And I worked as a audio engineer in and around Sydney, in pubs and clubs for a long while, and it was a very enjoyable experience. I ended up working at Sydney Theatre for a few seasons, working on some really amazing productions with the people and the team at STC. But yeah, so that's me, and I look forward to getting to meet all of you. So this video is just going to be an introduction to the course, an overview of exactly what's in the class and what we'll be discussing. We'll talk about the subject's brief, as well as just all of the administrative details about exactly what we're going to be doing on a week-to-week basis. All right, so let's get started. Alrighty, so learning outcomes are really important, and they kind of ground the whole course in a specific objective. And as a student, when you're approaching a class, I think it's really important to go and look at the learning outcomes and just make sure that that's what you're focused on in this semester. It's good to kind of check in on those learning outcomes throughout the semester to make sure you feel that you're actually developing towards meeting those outcomes, specifically because that's the way the assessment rubrics are designed. The way that we assess a student's performance is through understanding how they've met the learning outcomes. So they're really important. In this class, we have three learning outcomes: design, develop, and implement sound-based interactions for both products and immersive media. And we'll talk more about exactly where the two opportunities are to do that are in this course in the coming slides. Next, understand the requirements and limitations of sound-based designs and develop knowledge of how sound interacts with other interactive aspects of a design. This is a really fundamental component of understanding sound design, is to actually understand its limitations and how sound fits into the broader scope of a multimodal design, something that is holistic, has multiple features to it as a designed artifact or object. And lastly, actually apply interaction design theories and concepts to assess, analyze, and interrogate sound-based content in both products and immersive media. And so this is using the theory and knowledge that we will talk about, the concepts that we'll talk about, to actually understand how to interrogate a given sound-based design to elicit a kind of behavior or a kind of outcome that you're targeting as the designer. All right, so next up we have just a broad overview of the assessment deadlines for this course and the descriptions of those assessments. There's 3 assessable items in this course. They're broken up over the semester: week 5, the mid-sem break, and week 13. The first is a written design report. It's an individual assessment and it's worth 20%, and it's due on the 9th of the 9th. The next is a larger 40% assessment, which has multiple parts. An autonomous vehicle sound prototype, and we'll talk more about autonomous vehicles as a brief in this subject in a moment. But that's due in the mid-sem break, and that's a group assessment. And thirdly, the immersive media prototype, which is again a group assessment, another 40% with multiple parts as well. And all of the information about these assessments is available on the Canvas in much more detail. So in planning your time and approaching this semester, I think it's important to note that Assessment 1 and Assessment 2 are kind of paired together at the front there to get you prepped in Assessment 1 for that investigation and interrogation component of the learning outcomes, moving into Assessment 2 where you're actually going to implement some of those interaction design strategies to focus on an actual sound design for an autonomous vehicle. And in that way, Assessment 1 is individual to get you thinking about exactly how to design sounds. And then at that moment, once you submit A1, is the moment to start to form groups to begin to work towards Assessment 2 in the 3 weeks between those 2 assessments. And the immersive media prototype is in week 13, specifically because we want to allow students the time to develop the skills and understanding of the software to actually be able to, meaningfully engage with the assessment brief itself, which is about immersive media and sound design. So that's at the back half of the semester to give you the maximum amount of time with the software to get to know how to use it and do your best work. All right. Next up, the software that we're using in this class is Reaper, Wise, and Unity. Wise and Unity are both Assessment 3 technologies, again, so there's enough time for everyone to get to know how to use those technologies there. But Reaper is also used in Assessment 2. Now, it's not in Assessment 2, it's not necessary to use Reaper. You'll be designing sounds in Assessment 2, and you'll need to use some kind of digital audio workstation to do that. And so if you're someone in this class who already has a familiarity with one of those programs, Ableton or Logic or whatever it might be, you're free to use those DAWs yourself, and we'll provide you with some resources that will frame that assessment in terms of exactly what you're using to design with. But Reaper is the DAW that the tutors in this class will be speaking to. It'll be the path of least resistance if you're someone without experience of a digital audio workstation. So just keep that in mind. If you're more productive in Pro Tools or something like that, then that's completely fine by us. But the teaching team here will be using Reaper, and that's what we'll be leading students through in the coming weeks. So every week is a course structure, and given that we're now online, this changes things really substantially for the way that we deliver our courses, and some of you may have already experienced online learning, but we certainly didn't expect to have to be teaching online again this semester. So one thing to note is that the content has been adapted for online learning, and that means that we've actually had to modify some of the week's content in such a way that we're delivering alternate content in those weeks. Specifically referring to the autonomous vehicle brief that's been run in this subject, where we had a couple of opportunities that we've missed out on because we're not actually able to attend campus. So we've framed the course structure around pre-recorded videos. And one of the key aspects of learning online that we've experienced over the past few semesters here at Architecture, Design and Planning is that really long videos just don't work. Last semester in undergraduate design, where we have 200 or 300 design students, we tried longer 30-40 minute videos, and we used YouTube to specifically get the analytics like we're YouTubers, and it was really insightful to see that students do drop off really quickly about that 6 to 9 minute mark, which is also what the education research seems to indicate is the best mark. So we'll be targeting shorter videos this semester, topic based, multiple per week, so that you can just watch them in bite-sized chunks and find them and watch them as manageably as you possibly can. Now the thing is that there will be multiple, so you need to watch them before class, before you come to the Zoom session, which is the other primary component of this course, which is that there is a weekly Zoom tutorial of which will be about 2 hours. Though with Zoom, again, it's the same kind of thing with the videos, is that one of the kind of the learnings that we've gained in the past year or so is that Zoom tutorials have their own kind of momentum, and we're not really going to be targeting 2 hours as a maximum amount of time that we need to be spending together online. We really want students to feel like they have the opportunity to come to a Zoom tutorial and spend time with us and speak with us about the ideas that we're unpacking here and learn from the tutors as well. But if that time is not productively spent, then we don't want people to be stuck in front of computers for hours and hours and hours on end. It's not productive, and it can be frustrating for students who feel chained to multiple Zoom meetings every single day, trying to eke some learning out of watching a glowing rectangle. Now, we're obviously really open to feedback on this course structure, and every semester of online learning we're just getting better and better at it, so the feedback is really critical. So please do feedback to the tutors. Send me an email. Talk to us about what you think about the course structure. If you're struggling with it, if it's not working for you, then I'd love to talk to you more about exactly what we can be doing to better facilitate online learning. And the third component is that there is readings in this class. Now, some design students here might not have had readings. Some students might, with different backgrounds, maybe from engineering and computer science and things like that, may not have had courses with readings in them before. Readings simply are excerpts of research or literature which speak directly into this course, and there'll be a range of different readings available each week, some from textbooks and some from other publications, which will be speaking to the topic of interest in any given week. So the most fruitful way to approach a week in sound design for new media is to have watched the pre-recorded videos and to have also read the readings. It's really important that you do those two things to maximize what you're going to get out of this class. All right, enough said about the course structure. So the core resources in this class, like I said, there's a few textbooks. There's 4 textbooks which are all available through the Canvas reading list page. There is a reading list there. It attaches to the UCID library. They're all available for free. There's no need to buy them as physical copies unless you specifically wanted that. But they will be used to frame both the videos as well as the tutorial sessions, and they'll be the foundational kind of knowledge that we will be using going forward in this class. And there's more in these books than what we will cover in this class, so they are great resources if you are interested in them, but they're freely available to you through the UCID website. Okay, cool. So the subject brief. The subject brief for this class is autonomous vehicles and immersive media. And so it breaks down into 2 parts. Weeks 1 to 7, before the mid-sem break, is all about autonomous vehicles. And at the back half of the semester, it's about immersive media. And immersive media specifically means looking at game design, we're going to be actually designing sounds for an immersive media context with 360 audio, and that'll be that's a really fascinating and fun experience. And in the front half of the semester, we'll be looking at autonomous vehicle sound design. Now, why autonomous vehicles? What's the connection here? So at the moment, I'm actually running an experiment with autonomous vehicles in collaboration with the Centre for Field Robotics here at the University of Sydney, and we're actually looking at the ways that people interact with autonomous vehicles in urban environments. And pre this breakout of COVID in Sydney, we thought it would be a great idea to embed this brief in this subject, specifically because students would be able to get access to actual autonomous vehicles and to experience what they are like to work with as an interactive technology. Now, some of that has been mitigated, obviously, by the fact that we've lost access to campus, but I think we'll still gain a lot by thinking about this problem, and I hope to get in touch with as many of the researchers at the Centre for Field Robotics to bring them into this class so they can be speaking to us directly about their research and how they are approaching designing for autonomous vehicles. What I do know is it doesn't stop us from doing the work of design on this problem. And what is that problem, I hear you say? The problem that was specifically focused on in this class, and in weeks 1 to 7 we'll be exploring in depth, is exactly what is it like for pedestrians to interact with autonomous vehicles. And by that I mean, as a pedestrian walking down the street, we have all kinds of subconscious and conscious interactions with vehicles. These come under multiple categories. One of them is under mutual anticipation. It's where you kind of see a car approaching you and you have to make a decision about what you're going to do. Do you step out onto the road to cross the street, or do you pause and wait for the vehicle to stop? There's lots of things that happen there between you and the driver of the vehicle. Sometimes you make eye contact. Sometimes you might not. But most importantly, you know that there's a human agent in that vehicle operating it, and you can expect a kind of behavior. There's a predictability there. And this is very clear with things like zebra crossings, though I know internationally zebra crossings are not always used in the same way. But here in Sydney, Australia, a zebra crossing means that vehicles give way to pedestrians. So as you approach a pedestrian crossing, vehicles will stop for you. And that learned behavior, which is part of the road rules here in Sydney, is something that begins to become complex when we replace the human agent, the person that we have a very predictable relationship with a computational agent and an artificial intelligence. And what happens when you look up to cross the road and, in fact, instead of seeing a driver in a vehicle who you can make eye contact with and mutually anticipate and negotiate with, you see instead an autonomous vehicle with no driver. And you can't use any of those normal ways of thinking about approaching whether the vehicle is going to stop for you or whether it's going to keep going. And so one thing we know is obviously the default behavior is going to be to protect yourself, and you're not going to interact with the vehicle. You're going to try and keep out of its way. But that's actually not a really ideal scenario for pedestrians. It's not an ideal scenario for the flow of a city, and it's certainly not inversely a good idea either. Autonomous vehicles can't be stopping every single time they see a pedestrian just in case their person's going to walk in front of them. That means the experience of driving in an autonomous vehicle in a dense and urban environment would be extremely slow. And dense urban environments are one of the places that we want autonomous vehicles to be operating some of the most. So the brief for weeks 1 to 7 is just this problem that I've illustrated. How do we design interactions between pedestrians and autonomous vehicles? And we're specifically going to be using sounds to approach this problem. How do we design sounds to help pedestrians and vehicles interact with each other? I hope that we together come up with a lot of great sounds. I'm hoping not too many aggressive sirens and horns, but I'm really interested to see what everyone comes up with, and I'm looking forward to it. So I see I've already broken my own rule. Week 1, this video is already longer than 9 minutes, so I hope you stuck with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, seeing you in class. And if you have any questions, make sure you get in contact. You can do that by sending a message via Canvas, but the best way is to send me an email, and I'll attempt to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But other than that, thanks so much. Looking forward to it. See you later.